Your local civil defense presents Rescue and Reconnaissance by Stages. I'm a straw boss who got trapped in a construction collapse one Sunday while checking a house building job. But the local civil defense rescue squad had me out of there in no time flat. That opened my eyes. I said to myself, if the Civil Defense Rescue Service must operate with speed and precision to free trapped people from damaged structures immediately after an atomic attack, then they're going to need construction-wise fellows like me. I signed up for training and learned right off the bat that you can't take fast rescue action unless a real smart operational plan's been developed and the rescue teams have practiced and refined it to a really workable level. Let's talk about some of the things you'll have to learn, like fast and continuing reconnaissance, rescue by stages, debris removal techniques, building marking. Assume you're the leader of a rescue squad sent to a heavily damaged area. First off, you report to the civil defense officer in charge to get information and become part of the local operation. The official in charge may be a damage control officer, a police officer, a block warden, or even another rescue squad leader. His job is to coordinate the work of the rescue, fire, and other technical services, not direct them. This reporting in is the first step in your reconnaissance job of getting information and making observations. On the basis of this thorough, fast reconnaissance, your squad's going to tackle a lot of different rescue jobs, perhaps save a lot of lives. And while you're asking questions and looking around, you'll have a member of your squad with you so that he can take your messages to the members of the rescue team. But on this reconnaissance, what kind of information are you looking for? First, you'll want to know if other rescue squads are already working in the area. They can help you, or you may be able to help them. You'll be searching for facts about the exact nature and extent of damage your squad is up against. Can the squad handle this job, or do you need help? How about radiological and bacteriological hazards, or fire fronts racing towards your area of rescue responsibility? Are the casualty services on tap? You're going to rescue wounded people. Are medical people ready to take them off your hands? The building's pretty badly battered. What was it used for? How many people normally are in it at this particular time? You may not have to worry about all casualties, since some already may have been taken care of by the warden service. As an alert squad leader on reconnaissance, you'll find out the location of shelters or other places where large numbers of casualties may be trapped, and how much first aid already's been given to some of the casualties. These were the reconnaissance ideas that rescue instructors kept drumming into us during our training. I remember one of the instructors put it this way.
The facts you'll gather during a really thorough reconnaissance will give you the chance to make an intelligent decision whether or not you'll need reinforcements of personnel and heavy equipment. Remember this. When you're on a disaster scene, it's often human nature to overestimate the damage. You've got to guard against this so that unnecessary calls for aid don't run down the strength of rescue services badly needed elsewhere. Make this a rule of thumb. Don't call for help until you've made a complete reconnaissance of the area. You may find that you've got enough men and equipment to do the job yourself. Reconnaissance also will help you figure out priority for rescue operations of large numbers of casualties trapped in shelters or other group assembly spots. But it isn't enough to see the situation and hear people talk about it. You've got to evaluate information, separate fact from fiction, Check hysterical, exaggerated reports of untrained observers.
That's the way our instructors emphasize the problems, pointing out that squad leaders should look for usable information from casualties already released, and from the block warden, who's a walking encyclopedia of the area and its people.
Try to refer to trained, and I repeat that, trained help in getting information. Any policemen around? They know how to collect and verify information. Yes, it's a lot of information to gather. It may take time, but if you've trained properly, you can do it fast, thoroughly and fast. Pass on the information to your team members, get them cracking on their job, and still keep getting more information all the time. And it'll work two ways. Team members will be picking up valuable dope while they're doing their rescue job. They'll pass that information to you, and you'll be able to evaluate the facts and increase the efficiency of your team direction. Okay, so much for the reconnaissance. Now, let's talk about methods of actual rescue work. We weren't taught a set of standard, inflexible rules that'd make it a cinch for a squad leader to tackle every type of job. Our training proved that rescue isn't a cut-and-dried deal. But there are 4 general successive stages that'll help you evaluate the job correctly, organize appropriate action, and prevent you from overlooking vital facts. Stage 1 is immediate rescue of surface and lightly trapped persons. It boils down to this. As quickly as possible after sizing up the damage situation, the leader directs squadmen to rescue trapped people who can be seen or heard. Anyone whose exact location can be determined right away. Assign as many men as possible to this job. Then go on with your reconnaissance work. Sometimes you'll be able to turn over this Stage 1 rescue job to trained neighborhood rescue groups. Stage 2, exploration of likely locations of casualties. Your training will prove there may be casualties in relatively strong, sheltered parts of buildings that have resisted the blast. For that reason, your team must search buildings thoroughly, even structurally undamaged buildings, to find conscious or unconscious casualties who may be in shock or bleeding from wounds caused by flying glass. The casualties and your rescue squadmen may be facing fire hazards caused by hot coals, broken gas mains, exposed electric wires, or spilled gasoline and oil.
Our training taught us typical places where we might find casualties. For instance, specially constructed shelters, or spaces like closets under stairways, basements, and under workbenches in basements. Area close to remaining walls, fireplaces, chimneys. Voids under floors which have not entirely collapsed. In or under loose piles of rubble and debris, or near the roof or other areas where bodies may have been hurtled by blast. Keeping these facts in mind, you can see that a speedy, careful examination of the damaged building and its debris is vital if you're going to figure out the best and safest approach in this second stage of rescue operations. The third stage our instructors taught us in rescue work is selected debris removal, used when the location of the casualty is pretty certain, or when you wish to reach a particular spot covered with debris.
Even while the known casualties are being released, start other squadmen exploring for buried casualties. Their search and removal of debris will be based on the facts you, as squad leader, gathered in your reconnaissance. This reconnaissance also gave you clues to location of other people needing rescue. For instance, if rescue workers are looking for people known to have been on a specific floor when the building collapsed, the first thing they do is find out how that floor was damaged. So that in each of the 3 different types of floor collapse, rescue workers have an idea where they're likely to find victims. For instance, in pancake collapses, you'd likely find casualties between the floors. If the floor broke in the center, forming a rough V with a lot of rubble piled on top, then the casualty may have slid down into the bottom of the V between the broken ends of the floor. Or, if the floor held on one side but sagged on the other, trapped people may have slid down and been trapped under debris at the lower, sagging end.
Location of beds may be an important lead if collapse of a house took place at night. Have your squadmen look around and under the beds. I remember our instructor gave us these additional points on Stage 3 operations.
Keep this in mind. Walls whose edges face the direction of the blast may be less battered by blast than walls that face the bomb. Chimneys and staircases on outer walls are usually the strongest points of a building and may have the least damage. Casualties in those areas will likely be alive. When you're working close to a casualty's known or expected position, remove debris by hand. Picks and shovels have to be used with great care to avoid causing additional injury to casualties. Use these tools in debris only when the exact location of the casualty is definitely known and all other casualties have been accounted for. And there's tricks of the trade, too. For instance, you may save many hours of unnecessary debris removal by tapping or calling on pipes to locate casualties and listening for groans or answering taps. You may want to use dogs as an aid, as they did in Europe in World War II. They're not 100% sure, but sometimes well-trained dogs will save hours of work in locating casualties.
Our instructor also explained that if selected debris removal didn't turn up all the people known to have been in the building, then you've got to knuckle down and systematically strip the site bare until you've made a clear sweep of all casualties. In other words, Stage 4, General Debris Clearance. Systematic stripping's entirely different than removal of specific debris to rescue casualties in a precisely known location. This is bedrock stuff, usually working to the face of a wall or foundation using several workers in line. It's a forward sweep, rapidly but with extreme care. Uniform progress on a common front so that shifting movement of rubble will be limited. Engineering equipment should be used where it's helpful. After fouling up during our practice sessions by handling the same rubble twice, we found that it's essential to mark all stripped rubble clearly to avoid possible rehandling by relief teams. Talking of marking rubble reminds me to warn you to learn about the standard system of marking buildings after they've been searched. Marked buildings won't be searched twice. No waste of time and money. The marking will show which service did the job, rescue, fire, or warden, and also if the building's particularly dangerous. You'll learn that dangerous buildings should be marked prominently on all sides. The marking is simple and efficient. A large X to indicate a search was made. The large D within the top arms shows there's danger here. The bottom letter identifies the service that handled the job. In this case, R is for rescue. Talking of letters, we said D was for danger. D stands for another thing, too, in rescue work. It's discipline, something all of us need in difficult operations that often take place in darkness or dirty weather. Lives depend on the squadman's attention to instructions. As a squad leader, your discipline is to keep on the ball. After initial reconnaissance, you'll conduct it continuously so you can keep activities alert to changing conditions. This continued reconnaissance will help account for all area residents, a job the block warden will be able to help you with tremendously, and it'll also help you coordinate with the engineering services to determine future use of buildings and sanitation facilities. All the information you get on this continuing reconnaissance will be passed on, as necessary, by whatever communications are available, messenger, or telephone, or radio, whatever the rescue, fire, police, or warden services have handy. Well, that's about the story. That's the kind of training you're going to get when you sign up with the rescue service. Training that will teach you how to carry out reconnaissance and rescue operations in stages. That will spell the difference between life and death for trapped casualties. I said spell the difference. Seems we're back to alphabetical letters again. But why not? A may stand for atom in this atomic age when trapped casualties must be freed quickly from collapsed buildings. But more important, R stands for reconnaissance and rescue.